Good afternoon. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This is I guess it's not the full end of the first day of Startup Week, but it's definitely one of the later afternoon events on Monday. So welcome to Startup Week, and really excited to have the chance to speak with these other folks. They're people that I get to work with on the regular, but haven't seen in person in a long time. So this is wonderful. And we're going to get going and introduce ourselves in a minute, so I don't want to take too much time. I'll pass it to Allison, but we're just thrilled to have the opportunity to make sure all of us are sharing what opportunities are out there and how everyone can see how connected everyone is in the Chattanooga community regarding capital and financing and funding and all the different type of capital options that are out there. So I want to let Allison introduce herself. She's our wonderful moderator, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. For everyone here, I'm Allison Wolf, and I am the Partnerships Director with the CO, an entrepreneur center in Jackson, Tennessee. And I help run a program called Driving Innovation that serves 59 rural counties across the state with mobile labs focused on STEM, workforce development, but also small business and entrepreneurship. So super excited to be here on the Zoom today, and super excited to connect, like Katie said, with all of my friends from all these different organizations. So Katie, you introduced yourself a little bit with CoLabs. She's also going to be talking about Kiva, their Kiva program today. We're going to have all the panelists just kind of maybe quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll dive into the questions. So Sarah Matson, would you like to introduce yourself and the Small Business Development Center?
Yes. So my name is Sarah Matson. I'm a business counselor with the Tennessee Small Business Development Center, or TSBDC. We are actually a network of centers all over the country. We have 1,000 throughout the United States. And so we represent the Chattanooga office. We also serve 9 surrounding counties from our office as well. We provide no-cost business counseling and over 100 seminars a year on a variety of business topics.
Awesome, thank you. Let's do Gary Moore next.
Thank you. My name is Gary Moore. I'm with Bright Bridge Capital. We're based in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we are a not-for-profit economic development agency, and we are able to provide capital solutions to businesses really at any stage, whether that be startup, new, or existing. And we do that through a variety of programs, including SBA loans, our own loan fund program, and some others. And we work in conjunction with both community and regional banks to make this possible.
Great. All right, Keith with Pathways. Awesome.
Hey guys, first of all, it's so good to see everybody. I haven't seen you guys in forever. It's so good to see you all. Love seeing your smiling faces. Gary, how are you doing, buddy? Good to see everybody. Thank you all so much for putting this together. This is an incredible opportunity for us to share and help our local community. Pathway Lending has been around for a long time. We're a little over 20 years old. We're a community development financial institution, so we help all sorts of businesses from small all the way up to large. We focus primarily on mom and pop, not corporations at all. We don't do anything for corporations. It's primarily just mom and pop businesses, and we spend a great deal of time looking at their pro forma and not so much their past, and that allows us to do a lot of loans that typically banks wouldn't be able to do. We also spend a lot of time in the business advisory services role, because we have that part of our team that can come in and be a consultant for your business free of charge, and that has shown to be a very good partnership, and so we're doing really well with that. We can do loans in all 95 counties in the state of Tennessee, as well as Alabama. So we're doing a lot, and I'm sure everybody on here is just as busy as we are. But thank you so much for putting this on. Yeah. And again, it's great to see everybody.
Thank you. All right, Audra, are you able to tell us about the Development District?
Yeah. Hey. Sorry about not being able to do the video. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. We're very similar to a lot of you all. We do work in the 13 county region, so it's Southeast Tennessee and a few counties in Northwest Georgia. We also provide funding for small businesses that may not quite qualify for conventional bank lending. We also partner with banks and other financial institutions to help fully fund a project. And then what I also do is kind of collect all these great goodies that you all give me about what you guys do. And so when someone reaches out to me and wants to know what might best suit them, I kind of go through my Rolodex and say, oh, you might be good for this program or this program. So we try, if we can't help folks, to connect them to people who can.
Great, thank you. All right, and then Marcus, could you tell us about Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marcus Johnson. I am a small business lender with Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union. Specifically, I am over our Idea Leap lending program, which specifically provides financing and startup capital for early stage and startup businesses from $2,500 up to $50,000. We will be hosting our third annual grant tomorrow. And Idea Leap is really just an awesome program for startups to access capital. We partner with a lot of the organizations, not-for-profit organizations around town to find small businesses that are best suited for what we do through our Idea Leap loan program.
Awesome. And then Katie, I know you introduced yourself. Will you talk just very briefly about Kiva?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Katie Hendricks, the Chief of Staff at CoLab here in Chattanooga, and I have the opportunity to work and with the program Kiva. So Kiva is a 0% interest crowdfunding loan platform that provides loans up to $15,000. Typically pre-pandemic it was up to $10,000, but they've recently changed that to be up to $10,000. And they're currently offering loans with a 6-month grace period before you have to repay. So we'll get more into Kiva, but it's a great aspect if you're looking for capital that's a little bit less than what these folks had mentioned, or right in the beginning stages of what you can do with them.
Great. Thank you, guys. So if you're just joining us, we have a lot of panelists today representing a lot of different organizations that help fund businesses. Pretty much all of these organizations focus on debt funding. If you have questions about maybe some investment funding, definitely please ask them and we can kind of connect you in the right places. Our expertise is going to be around debt for this. I really liked what Audra said, was she just is there to help you find the best fit. And I think that's one thing I want to highlight is this group, all of these panelists that you just heard from, we're not in competition with each other, right? If you go to one, we're not going to tell you, oh, you have to come to us, right? All of us want to find the best fit for your business and to connect you with the organization that might work. So as you're going through this, I know it can get overwhelming. There's so many different options. We all know a little bit about what everyone does, and if you don't fit with one organization, we can recommend another one. So along those lines, I want to hear about what types of businesses are the best fit for each of our panelists. So Katie, could you start us off? Who's the best fit for your Kiva crowdfunding platform?
Sure, yes. So with Kiva, you have to be 18 or older and have to have a legitimate business, so some sort of business proof, and not currently be in foreclosure or in bankruptcy. Otherwise, for the most part, you could be very early stage. You don't have to be fully launched yet. You could be just kind of really getting out and looking for a loan. A lot of it depends on your personal kind of finances of what they're looking for. But as far as who's eligible, as long as you're 18 or older and you have a legitimate business, then you can apply. And
you said your loans are up to $15,000, correct?
Yes, so they're from $1,000, so a little bit less than the Idea Leap, but $1,000 up to $15,000.
Yeah. All right, Keith, can you tell us what types of businesses are the best fit for your programs?
Yes, absolutely. We, as long as you are a Tennessee or Alabama company, we can't do loans for anybody that has a business outside of those. Now, if you do business outside of Tennessee and Alabama, that's fine, but you have to be registered as a business in the 2 states. We have previously in the past done pre-revenue businesses, meaning startups and stuff like that. During the COVID crisis, we have kind of put a hold on pre-revenue businesses, so we're trying to focus morely on post-revenue. The simple fact that we are bombarded. We've got, I think, our statistics were as of July 30th, we took more applications and closed more loans than we did all of 2019 in the first 6 months. So it's been overwhelmingly busy. So we're trying to focus on the businesses that need us the most, which is, small businesses. We can do loans from $5,000 to $3 million under our scenario for one entity. We do micro loans through the SBA, and then we can do any loan on top of that can come across our desk as long as everything checks out. So, and I wanted to reiterate, Allison, you're exactly correct. We've got a lot of good funders on this call, and none of us compete with each other. We're all really close friends. We all help each other, and we all try to find the customer the best company, and I love that. So you guys that's on this call, thank y'all so much. I'm just a small part of it, but I really do appreciate all that y'all do for us. And we send loans your all's way, and you send loans our way, depending on what the customer wants. So that's kind of that's the goal here. And so we really appreciate that. And I appreciate you saying that too.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Gary, can you tell us what types of businesses best fit with your loan programs? I know you have multiple, just like Keith, but.
Yes, you're right, Allison. We do offer a multiple range of programs. And we can work with both for-profit businesses and not-for-profit agencies. When the calendar flips next year, we will be celebrating our 40th anniversary. And it's only just recently that we've been able to work with not-for-profit agencies. So that is something that's new for us. So we hope to be able to do more of that. If you are a for-profit business, we have some SBA loan programs that are available to you. We are able to work with startups, and we've had some come to us since the beginning of the pandemic. So that's been encouraging to hear, and it's been encouraging to work with them. Typically, for startups, we have programs that range from $50,000 up to $250,000. We fund 90% of those loans, which means that the borrower is bringing about 10% into the project. That can be cash in hand, or that can be equity if they happen to have already put some cash into the business. So we have a couple of ways to look at that. One of the other SBA programs that we offer allows us to go up higher, up to $5.5 million. Typically, that is used to purchase real estate and or heavy equipment. So for those of you who are viewing this today, maybe you're right now starting out in your home, we can work with you. Then if you need to graduate and move up to a leased space, we can work with you. And then if you need to graduate from that leased space to buying a building, we can work with you too.
That's great. Thank you. Audra, can you tell us what types of businesses are the best fit for your programs?
Yeah. We do, right now we do for-profit. However, with some of these newer City of Chattanooga programs that we've helped implement, we've been able to do some nonprofit. But for the most part, it's for-profit. We do startups and existing businesses. All the gambit, manufacturing, servicing, retail, restaurants. Our loan range is a minimum of $35,000, and we go up to $250,000. And we can offer the fixed rate and all the fun things there. We also do what we call gap financing. So if you're working with a bank or a financial institution and you're, say, about 70% of what you need and you're looking for another 20 to 25%, we can often come in and help participate and get that project fully funded. And ultimately, as long as you're located within our 10 counties in Southeast Tennessee or the 3 counties in Georgia, we can help you out.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Marcus, what types of businesses typically do Idea Leap?
Yes. So as long as you live, work, or worship in one of our 13 county service areas, you're eligible to participate in Idea Leap. The key to participating, though, is you have to go through one of our 8 collaborators, one of them being the TSBDC. And what the collaborators are charged with is essentially vetting the business on the front end. So making sure that the business plan is solid, making sure that the potential entrepreneur has a good vision, that they really understand what they're getting into. So that's the key part to Idea Leap. And once the collaborators, that's what we call them, our collaborators are on board and they feel fairly confident that the business owner should be considered for financing, then they will refer them over to the credit union. And then we underwrite it. We take a look at the deal. We read all the way through the business plan, really try to understand what the entrepreneur is trying to accomplish. And then we ultimately make a funding decision. So I would say the key component to Idea Leap is first passing the vetting process through one of our 8 collaborators.
That is a great segue into Sarah's section about working with a collaborator to get a loan. And that's really a great place that the Small Business Development Center really works in. So Sarah, can you talk to us about the process of getting a loan and how you guys help with that process?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people think that our organization is SBA and that we do lending directly. So just to clarify that myth, we don't, but we do provide technical assistance to help you get the funding that you need. So we are a really good kind of first step. You can talk about your business with us. We can decide if funding's even a good option for you, or maybe there's another way. Maybe you can bootstrap, maybe you can start smaller. We can talk all that out. Work on your business plan so we can help you, counsel you through each step of the process of building out your business plan, which you would have to get funding for your business anyway. So that would kind of be a next step. And then we kind of help use our network and our resources to determine which loan would be a good fit for you or combination of loans. And we try to help you strategize on which loans you should apply for. And then we really hold your hand and walk you through the process of getting all your loan documents together, filling out all the forms you will have to turn in, like a personal financial statement, and just answering a lot of those questions for you before you even take your loan package to the bank. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of what we do. So we help you with the business plan and loan package, but above and beyond that, we just help you talk through how much funding do you even need, marketing ideas, really every aspect of your business so that you're making the wisest choice before you even seek out the funding.
That's a really great point, because sometimes taking on a loan isn't the best thing for your business. And I think all of our panelists here want to make sure that this is the best fit for you. So they will all help you kind of walk through that process and help you understand what that looks like. So one thing, Sarah talked about putting together the loan package and everything to apply for the loan. And I think one thing that surprised me when I first started helping through that process is just how long that takes, right? It's very rare that you can walk into a bank and get a loan that day, right? So any of our panelists, about how long should our entrepreneurs on this, how long should they prepare and realize, hey, I need money now and I need to start working on this because it's going to take a while? What does that timing look like?
Well, I'll go first. For us, there's two, that's a loaded question. So yeah. There's 2 ways to look at that. One, when the process starts, according to the customer, is when they first meet with us. That, in their mind, that's when it starts. The technical answer is when the application is submitted. When the application is submitted, our average loans are closing in about 32 days. Now, again, that differentiates from their time set of, well, I met with you 6 weeks ago and we still don't have anything done. Well, it's a process, but we're closing in about 32 days. And I'm sorry I went first, but I just want to get it out of the way. So.
No, I'm so glad. Yes, so that's a great point. So it takes a long time to put together the application. that's where the Small Business Development Center, and that's why I really love Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union's program, to work with an organization that helps you put that together. Writing a business plan is a lot of work. Putting your pro formas and your financials together is a lot of work. And so thank you for that. Katie, your program is a little bit different. Can you talk about the application process for Kiva and what that looks like?
Yes, so Kiva is a little different in that you're not going to necessarily have to submit the same type of financials and kind of background things that are usually needed or will be needed for most of all the other lending institutions. Kiva, just wants to make sure in some ways, do you have a business? Do you have business proof? Do you have a business bank account? Do you have a website, Facebook? They're trying to see, are you real? But really what happens is once you kind of also like Keith said, is once you get your application in, then that's kind of the length of time with Kiva. It's once you're approved, since it's a crowdfunding loan platform, Kiva has it in 2 different fundraising phases. So just to kind of reiterate, Kiva is a 0% interest loan up to $15,000, but you are crowdfunding. You are fundraising for that loan. So if you're familiar with Kickstarter or GoFundMe, those are 2 other crowdfunding platforms, just with different aims or different goals in mind. But Kiva will assign you, and once you're approved, will assign you a number of people, say 25 people, that you, in your first phase, in the private phase, you have 15 days to ask them to at least lend $25. So I'm looking for, and I have 15 days to get 25 people to at least lend me, invest in my loan at the $25 level. Once you get those number of people, the 25 people, you go on the global Kiva site. So it's international people all over the world, and you have 45 days to raise the rest. So it is all or nothing. So in that, kind of the full, if you needed the full 60 days, that's when you have to raise the entire amount of your loan. If you don't, if you fall short, which all of us are very supportive and here for you, but if you didn't, the money would then go back to the people, the lenders. So potentially Kiva could be a 60-day process. So it's, again, if you meet with someone and you think I can apply, just think it might be 2-ish months, 2.5 months out.
For your funding. That's a great point. If you are joining us and you have a question, please feel free to go off mute and ask, or type it in the chat for our panelists. I have a few more prepared questions, but we want to leave a lot of time for audience Q&A as well. Sarah, oh yes, Keith?
Yeah, I was just letting you know, remember I have an appointment at 4:30, so I have to jump off, and I'm terribly sorry about that. But I am going to post in the chat my cell phone number and my email address. And so call me anytime, day or night. Again, we focus on women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses. We got grants for all those companies, and we also do all small business lending. And everybody on this call are partners. So I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And we will send everyone a follow-up with the information for all of these lending programs. So you guys will get that specifically to your email when this is over.
This panel is really more about debt funding, but with coronavirus, there have been some relief and stimulus packages come out for funding for businesses, and we are seeing some, very few grants. We used to always tell people there are no grants. There are no grants for your business. There have been a couple. They're very, very competitive. Sarah, I didn't ask you this before, but can I put you on the spot? Can you talk a little bit about what types of stimulus packages you're seeing in different places that maybe some of our audience could look to for funding for their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So I see Kim has jumped on with the City of Chattanooga. The City of Chattanooga has several options for small businesses. They have the Neighborhood Reinvestment Fund, which is more for existing businesses who maybe can't get traditional funding. There is the growing business initiative. So if you've hired more than 5 people within a recent time frame, then there are incentives for that you can apply through the city. And the city did issue some grants and some other loans immediately when the pandemic started. And of course, those went very quickly. So I would say the one pro tip, I guess, would be when you find something, apply quickly, especially if it's related to the pandemic. Apply as quickly as you can. And I'll just advocate for this because I have a little bit of an accounting background. That's a really good reason to have your bookkeeping in order so that when these things hit, you're not then scrambling to get your books together. It's also a good reason to keep everything on your books and not keep 2 sets of books or cash records, because that'll limit you when an emergency comes up and you need to get emergency funding.
Yeah.
City of Chattanooga has some great options. Tennessee Department of Revenue has now put out 2 different small business relief programs. There's a lot of private companies doing a lot of programs, and honestly, I've had a hard time even keeping up with all these small little ones. And I do think those are probably harder to access. Mm-hmm. So definitely try, if you see a local opportunity, jump on it as quickly as you can. So local meaning Chattanooga, Hamilton County, Tennessee, or Georgia. I see there's a question in the chat box where April's asking about funding in Georgia, and I'm not specifically, I'm not sure if they have their own relief programs in Georgia or not, but I could help you find out.
Yeah. So Audra, I know you said you work in some counties in Georgia, and then Tennessee Valley Credit Union. Do you work in, I guess you were just in Tennessee, and then some rural counties. BrightBridge, what does that look like for you guys? Are you in some areas in Georgia?
We are, Allison. We serve North Georgia as well as North Alabama. So for those who are listening in who are within the tri-state region, we have a solution for all of Tennessee, North Georgia, and North Alabama. And Georgia, just like Tennessee, does have some state-sponsored relief programs. And then I just happen to know, because we get emails from various chambers of commerce throughout the North Georgia area, just like our chamber here, they have other programs available also for those dealing with the pandemic.
And Sarah, you represent the Small Business Development Center here, located in Chattanooga, that serves rural counties. But for our Georgia and Alabama, there are small business, every county in the United States is served by a Small Business Development Center. So you will have one in your community that you can connect with. And if you need help, please reach out to us. We can help you find that. So we have a couple really good questions in the chat from Claire. Do any of the lending programs that you guys are working with have any deferments either on interest or repayment? Do any of you guys, because of COVID, are you offering anything like that? Are you seeing anything like that in the loans that you're working with?
I can say for our existing clients, we've been able to offer payment deferment and things of that nature, some restructuring. Mm-hmm. But as far as new projects, the most we've been able to do is give you a little bit of time to start repayment. So instead of having to repay within the first 30 to 60 days of closing, we can push it out a little farther. But most of that relief is offered with our existing clients, for us anyway.
Great.
For us, same thing at the very beginning of the pandemic. We did a lot of deferments, some interest-only restructures. With newer transactions, we can do interest only depending on the business and the industry. For instance, if we're doing a food truck, or something that requires consumers to walk into a storefront, we may consider doing an interest only transaction for, 6 months or 9 months or something, just to give the entrepreneur the opportunity to begin to build and generate revenue. And then after that time frame, then the payment will kick to a normal principal and interest payment. But we always make sure that the borrower understands what the full payment is going to be once that interest-only period expires. And we also encourage, even during an interest-only period, that if you are generating revenue quicker than anticipated, that you apply, make your regular payment. So that's what we're doing right now, but that's always on the case-by-case basis, depending upon the business.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you. And this is Claire. And the reason I asked that question is because we need funding to help purchase inventory. And since we're a new client with our manufacturer, we don't have any credit established with them. So of course they need cash down first, and it's an 8-month lead time. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out what can we do to fund that, but not be accruing interest during that 8-month time. So thank you for your answers.
That's great. Thank you, guys. And a lot of what we've been talking about has been loans. Would somebody maybe talk about lines of credit or maybe some different types of debt funding that you do? Do you guys have those options? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we offer lines of credit. And Claire, to speak specifically to your example, it certainly sounds like a line of credit would be appropriate, not really knowing a ton about your business, but just when you're trying to float some cash on a short-term basis. That's really what lines of credit are for: short-term cash flow needs to purchase inventory, or, you know, something where there's a quick turnaround time on that. Now, it will accrue interest. I don't know of any lines of credit products that don't accrue interest over an 8-month period. But I mean, depending on how much you're spending and what your interest rate is, and your return on your investment, how quickly you believe you'll be able to sell your inventory or whatever it is that you're doing, the interest accrual shouldn't be too much of a burden on the cash flow of your business. But we offer lines of credit both through Idea Leap and then just traditional small business and commercial financing. And we structure those, again, just depending upon the business and the industry, will kind of determine the terms of those lines.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Sarah, you had mentioned earlier, just here's some best practices for getting a loan. And I think that's a really good topic for us to talk about. What are some things that you really need to keep in mind when you're going to get a loan? And what are some things that you want to avoid when going to get a loan? So this is just open to all panelists. What are some of your best practices and things to avoid?
I guess I'll start. I think most everyone on this call will agree. With most funding, you still kind of have to follow the 5 C's, and I can't remember what they all are, but I do. But credit, collateral, some other stuff. You still, I should totally know that, and I quoted all incorrectly, just like that. You still need to have pretty good credit, I would assume. I think for most of these types of loans, it still needs to be something that could, you still need some sort of collateral. And for most of these products, you do need some sort of down payment. Gary mentioned that they can be a little bit creative with the down payment, with it being equity or something like that. But we get a lot of clients who want a 100% financed loan or line of credit, and they have not really good credit at all, and they're wanting to get a $50,000 loan to develop a website or something less tangible. And so I think I speak for a lot of you here when, you know, that's just kind of a lot of things we see in our office, is that people are looking for this kind of dream funding situation. But really, you do have to put skin in the game, and that will be expected of you to have some sort of down payment and some sort of good track record.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, Allison, along those lines, Sarah's right. Just be as prepared as you possibly can be. And also understand that for example, with us, once an application comes in, we'd like to process it as quickly as we can. But oftentimes we're going to come back to the borrower, to the business owner with questions, and that's to help us to understand their business better. so that we understand their need for capital and so that we can hopefully get that capital to them. So always be prepared for a little back and forth. That's not a negative thing. That's just helping the borrower to understand how to move forward better with your application.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you're wanting to speed the process along, make sure you're sending those answers, answering your phone calls, answering your emails kind of as quickly as possible, because it is a long process.
And I was thinking too, we were talking about the timing of loans. I know Marcus has told me before that their time frame for processing a loan really isn't when they get the application, it's when they get a completed. Months to complete those missing pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also just add to that is, you know, for entrepreneurs is to be flexible. You know, just because you may be asking for 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever the number is, as an entrepreneur, you should have a plan B and even a plan C. I mean, if the success of your business, you know, lives and dies on you getting exactly what you're asking for, then you're in a bad position to begin with. You know, so if you're asking for 50 and you only end up getting, you know, 35, then you should have some sort of plan of action, some sort of way to pivot. Don't try not to come to a lending table with, you know, I have to have this money or I'm in dire straits, because a lot of times if you're in that position, that certainly will make the bank or the financing institution a little bit concerned, because it says that somehow you're in trouble. There's something that we're not getting. So I would just say be willing to be flexible. Obviously ask for, you know, what you want, and hopefully you'll get what you need.
Great point.
And just kind of adding on that is, in some ways, this is how Kiva fits into the capital stack. So Kiva is that, you know, 1,000 to 15,000. So say there is, you know, there are creative ways potentially to be able to maybe put together a crowdfunded loan, say with Kiva, where you do 3,000, that gets you, you know, your marketing and your website together. And then maybe we talk with one of the other lenders and put that together maybe for a little bit more larger. And then you show that you're paying your Kiva loan off, which helps build your credit, you know. So there's kind of creative ways to think about, depending on what you are saying. I mean, what Marcus was just saying with your plan B and C. So that is very important to think, okay, I got to get this all right now. So maybe there are ways to build and get into a place where, you know, I get this little bit, this gets me here, I pay it off, this is where I am, you know. Or maybe I've been in existence for a year and then I qualify for one of the city grants and then that gets me, you know. So there's definitely opportunity, but it's important to know your resources and your plans.
And I would just like to follow up to that. And Katie's right, know your resources and know your plan. I know we had a business owner who bought a building using one of our SBA programs, and part of her equity injection was made up of crowdfunding. That qualified, that was okay. So she was very smart to take advantage of that.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple questions in the chat. First, does Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union have funding other than the norm for a business needing a truck or van? So I know TVFCU, you can answer this one, but I know BrightBridge and Kiva, you have also had people come to you wanting trucks and vans and helping pieces of equipment. If you guys could just talk about that for a couple seconds for April.
Not other than the norms, I'm not really sure where that part of it, but yes, I mean, we do offer financing for commercial vehicles, trucks, vans, either through Idea Leap, which might be other than the norm, since that's our non-traditional lending arm. So we would be able to look at that potentially through our Idea Leap startup program, provided again that you are able to go through one of our collaborators. And then of course in our normal traditional commercial lending, we do offer that option as well.
Great, thank you. Katie, we also have a question that looks like you answered it in the chat. If you could just kind of answer it in the group, how are the micro lenders in Kiva incentivized?
Sure. And I can also address that other piece. We have had people with food trucks and other type of, you know, equipment go through Kiva. So there are different options there. But yeah, Claire, you asked kind of the big question. Kiva is lending and it is an investment, so it's not a donation. So when the borrower does repay, you are going to get a piece of your payback, your what you invested back. So it might be 75 cents a month until you've recouped your 25. The point of Kiva in some ways is that it's such a large community that you might get that 25 back in your Kiva account, but then you get to lend to someone else. So it's just this recyclable 25 that I'm going to continue building into the community. So we actually just had someone, he funded at the end of last week. I'm proud for him. I was kind of hoping he would be here today so I could show you all a live Kiva borrower, but he funded with $9,000 in less than a week. And really just had a great community come around him. So it is, in some ways, it isn't donation, but people recognize, crowdfunding is a risk in general, but people recognize that it's going to potentially be something they can lend to someone else and just build into the community.
Great. So just to recap, the lenders aren't making money off of you. They're just getting their original money that they put in back. And so it is altruistic in that way, but not as much as a Kickstarter where they're just giving you the money, right? Great. One thing I want to talk about, and Audra mentioned this a little bit about working with their existing lenders. So say you get a loan, talk about the importance of the relationship for the business owner to keep in contact with their loan officer, talk to them. If there's issues that are arising, make sure that they're aware of it. I know that's something that you guys have all talked about. It's really important. Can you kind of give us maybe some examples or talk about how important this is for you to talk to your lender even after you get your loan?
Yeah, so for a number of our projects or programs, because they're state funded or federal funded, we have to report back to those funding agencies and let them know how our business are doing, if they're behind, if they're providing us the information. We also have to keep track of your job creation and retention if you're actually doing those things. We like to know that you're doing well. We do an annual checkup on all of our businesses. If you get a little bit behind and we give you a call, it's great when you pick up the phone and we can talk about it and work it out. It's when you don't respond to our efforts and we don't hear anything from you and we drive by your business and, there's a for sale sign on the building that is kind of frightening. So just, general keeping up and keeping in contact. And, we do that a number of different ways: text, email, phone, video chat. And two, if, you're struggling or you're hitting a wall or something's going on, we actually might be able to say, hey, okay, we can help you with that. We can refer you to some resources. Here's some other options. So that way we can, help each other and make sure that each business succeeds.
That's a great point. You have a piece of equipment break or you have COVID hit and you have to shut down for 2 weeks, be in touch with your lender, let them know what's going on before something bad happens and you miss a payment is always, always the best way to do it. Great. So let's see. Yes, go ahead.
I'm full of questions.
I love it.
Thank you. Are the Idea Leap grants awarded at different times throughout the year, or is it just this time of year?
It is just this time of year. So traditionally, and not taking into account 2020, because none of the rules apply this year. But traditionally, we open up the Idea Leap grant in May. And so the application process, I think last year ran from May 4th to the end of June. And we got in maybe about 150 or so applications, and then we dwindle them down. And so then we come up with the top 10, and it's always during startup week, Tuesday. It's been that way for the last, this year be the third year. This year we did it a little bit differently to help small businesses. What we did is the 2 previous years businesses that did not make it to the top 5, we invited them to apply this year and allow them to have the opportunity to try to access the grant. But under normal circumstances, the application opens up in May, and then we always award the grant during startup week.
Great. And that's for the grant, and then your Idea Leap loans are open all throughout.
Yeah, all throughout the year. And the cool part about the Idea Leap loan program is that a lot of the proceeds that we receive from the loans, the money that we make, actually helps fund the grant. Yeah. So, I like to tell every entrepreneur that, each time you make a loan payment, you're helping us to pay it forward and keep the grant going and keep our board happy and all that good stuff. And then just one little piece just to add to Audra's point about, keeping in contact with your lender. Banking at the end of the day is about relationships. And your lender is almost like your financial attorney. They should be your advocate. They should be able to speak on behalf of your business. And so by not communicating, you could ultimately be hurting yourself. I mean, no one likes to be in a position where they can't pay their bills. It's embarrassing. It creates a whole bunch of emotions that none of us want to feel. But if you're running a business, you should really have a relationship with your banker where you trust them and you believe that they're always going to act in your best interest. And so can't emphasize that point enough, that if you get in the ditch, you should have a relationship with a lender or a collaborator or someone where you can reach out to them proactively. That way, folks need to rally around you and try to help you. We're not looking at each other like, well, I hadn't talked to them in 6 months. I don't know what's going on. That's never a good situation.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Can I ask one more follow-on?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Now that I've got Marcus's attention. So I am in Middle Tennessee, and I've been engaged with the SCORE Nashville office. So and I think you mentioned for the Idea Leap, it has to be within a 13-county territory. Is that right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't reach all the way to Middle Tennessee. Maybe one day. It's above my pay grade, but right now, no, we don't go as far as Middle Tennessee.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. There is a small business development center at MTSU. If you're in that part of the state, in that area, I think they probably serve most of Middle Tennessee, but there are quite a few. I think Clarksville has one. We can get you connected with those as well. Yeah. BrightBridge serves all over the state. Audra serves Southeast Tennessee and some in North Georgia. But there are development districts within Middle Tennessee that she could connect you with as well. And then Katie, Kiva, I think you would be open to Middle Tennessee companies, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm the, Kiva is international as well as, all over the country here. I'm the rep in Tennessee. I'm specifically Hamilton County and the 10 counties that CoLab works in, but I am the rep in Tennessee. So I'm very happy to work with anyone.
Wonderful.
What county are you in, Claire?
I'm in Murray County.
Okay, so that might be under our Nashville office. I can check and send you some information on that if you'll drop me your email.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I know the guy that works at the MTSU one lives in Murray County, so he will be easy to connect with.
I have a map. Let me look at my map.
Awesome. So while we are doing that, I think we should maybe jump back a little bit. And we kind of at the very beginning touched on your loan package, but I think it might be helpful to talk about there's lots of different pieces within that. And Sarah at one point said, this is a really great time to get all your QuickBooks together, your financials together. If you don't have that together, where any of these people, what is a good resource for business owners to go to if they're realizing, hey, my financials aren't in a place where I'm ready to do it and I need help? Who can they go to for help with that? Sarah. Exactly.
I do a limited amount of bookkeeping training and setup. I will not do your QuickBooks cleanup for you because I don't have the time or to do that. But we have a great referral network of professionals that we can make sure you get all set up to get your books in order and keep them that way.
Wonderful.
And kind of alongside with what TSBDC at CoLab offers office hours where you can sign up for 30 minutes with an accountant or a lawyer or marketing. So that's not as intensive and kind of one-on-one with what the TSBDC offers. But once again, things that you can complement, resources that you can complement, and then maybe get to where we can, like what Sarah said, refer you to a great network and find you someone.
That's great. Sarah and Kate, if you guys could both drop your website in the chat, and that way people can know where to go to sign up for that stuff. That'd be great. Awesome. Well,
Allison, may I add something to that?
Yeah, please.
Regarding the application package, something that has come our way recently, because we do offer SBA products, is, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of your commercial lenders are asking for this also, but we're asking borrowers to include a COVID-19 statement in their business plan. And what that means is we want you to explain what your contingency plans are should the pandemic go on for the foreseeable future. Hopefully we're at the, in the third quarter of this thing, and we're not going to have to deal with it too much longer. But the reality is it is where we are at the moment. So we want to know what your plans are. For example, if your community implements a shutdown and you can't have your doors open for a period of time, just like some businesses have experienced, what are your plans for that? Or if one of your suppliers, one of your vendors is adversely impacted by the coronavirus and you can't get your inventory, your supplies, your components to make your product, what is your plan for that? And at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt to have this contingency plan on your shelf, because separate from COVID, you might get hit by a flood, you might get hit by a tornado, you might have an ice storm that puts you out of business for a couple of weeks. So it's not going to hurt to go through this exercise, but just know that we are asking for that to be part of your application package currently.
That's a great point, and that's something I didn't even know. That's new, obviously, if it's COVID related, but yeah, thank you for adding that and letting us know.
I think that goes back to what Marcus said, sorry, Allison, to jump in, just about having your plan B and C, as Gary pointed out. If this is, what do you have organized? What's your digital folder that you're able to, if a new round of funding came out, if the PPP or something else, do you have that digital folder that has everything you need that's easily accessible? So then your time to apply is cut down. And I think someone mentioned even just local opportunities and applying as soon as they come out. So if you're already organized, you're already ready, and you have just what Gary said, even a statement like this, and you just know, then you can get in the door faster. And I think that's one thing as I've talked with people, just making sure they know what is needed of them as much as we are. As Sarah said, I think like she was learning new things every day and what it was looking like, but as best we can provide you with information, know that we're here to be able to do that. And it's great to be organized on your back end.
That's a great point. Great point. All right. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Feel free to drop them in the chat, as well as all of our panelists. If you have any information or websites, I know some of you have already dropped them in there. Feel free to do that. Katie, would you mind giving us a little bit of this is the first day of Startup Week. There's a lot going on. Would you mind giving us a little blurb on how they can get involved and go to other events like this throughout the week? Sure.
And as I mentioned kind of at the beginning, we will send a follow-up email with everyone's information, their website, and just a quick blurb on what each of these institutions or organizations offer. So you guys don't have to be screenshotting the chat. I always get a little stressed if I miss it. But thank you all so much for attending this one. I mean, I hope you see that all of us really enjoy each other and enjoy figuring out how to connect and be resourceful for all of you. We really are here for that reason. So please connect with us and let us know. Claire, keep asking us questions. We'll hook you up. But Startup Week. So Startup Week Chattanooga, it comes around this year, or this week in October, the third week of October, most every year, I think. I forget, this maybe is our 7th or 8th year. And there's a variety of events. So if you guys, tomorrow we have an event Well, I'm doing one with Kiva. Y'all already heard Kiva, so don't worry about that one. Let's attend some other ones. But there's one with NASA. So we have a partnership, one of my colleagues actually, it's doing business with NASA. So that's pretty cool. I think that's at noon. We have actually more capital if you're doing alternative capital. Jonathan Bragdon and some other folks are going to speak to that. Capacity capital. I'm just giving you a shout out. I think that's at 1:30. Is it at 1:30? 2. It's at 2. And I'm going to put the
Eastern for our Central Time people.
Yes, 2 Eastern. We also I'm kind of giving you a little bit of high level. That's kind of the most fun for me. CoLab hosts a consumer goods accelerator. So we've had some companies with some amazing products that are sort of doing almost like a QVC introduction style of their products. So that's going to be tomorrow afternoon. There's also a pitch event for investors. If you're looking, people are already in there, but if you wanted to watch a live pitch in front of kind of like Shark Tank, but different here in Chattanooga, is tomorrow. Wednesday, we also have some amazing events with the chamber, and there's a lot of just a variety. You can find people who want to talk about how to pivot during the pandemic. The director of Hamilton, the Broadway musical, is doing a fireside chat with our CEO on Thursday. That's at 11 a.m. There's a few more pitch events. Just to give another biased shout out to another event I'm doing. Is one called Working Moms, How We Show Up and Show Out, and that's Friday morning at 10 a.m. Also, I'm going to put some things. So there's some great energy-focused events. There are you can do yoga. I mean, there's some great ones. So I'm going to pop that in there, and all virtual. So everyone can just show up as you are.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much. We're right at 5 o'clock. Or 4 o'clock if you're in Middle Tennessee. So thank you guys all for joining us. And thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time to be here. If you guys have any last words you want to say, please feel free. If not, I'm going to stay on the line. If you guys have questions about getting connected, we are here. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Hi.
Hi.
All right. Okay, cool.
Great.
Whew.